Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So it has been an incredible week for Bitcoin, with the price moving up 7.75% in just yesterday alone. There's a lot to unpack in the recent price action as we once again go for a test of our all-time high at $73,000 for the first time since the start of April. So let's dive into the charts today to talk about the potential for a breakout or a rejection here from $73,000, as well as the upcoming altcoin season. Before we get into all that though, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel down below to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday and Saturday, and ring the notification button so you never miss an episode. If you're interested in even more content, be sure to check out the free Telegram channel over here to get daily Bitcoin analysis as well as crypto and economic news. If you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trades with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, as per usual, let's start off by talking about what on earth has happened. So for those of you who haven't seen my videos before or are kind of just new to the channel or new to Bitcoin, let's just start off by discussing the higher time frame context of what's been going on. So for the last 3 months, Bitcoin has been traveling sideways within this massive channel of consolidation, right? Between $60,000 support and 73K resistance. $60,000 being that macro level that we established in this high over here in 2021, and 73 being the all-time high that we reached at the start of April. I think it was the start of April, the start of March, right? And ever since we touched this all-time high, Bitcoin has been looking quite weak. So we had continual retests of bases of support with a failure to create a newer high or a higher high. And subsequently, we just, lost all momentum and we fell below $67,000. So when we did that, for the last month, Bitcoin has been strictly consolidating in the lower areas of this channel, right? This lower half between $60K and $67,000, right? For a full 39 days, we were unable to break past this key level of resistance. But Tuesday morning at around 1 a.m., we finally had that support resistance flip. So the charts have been starting to look bullish for a little while now, and we finally had that breakthrough, and the price shot right up to retest this key level of resistance at this all-time high resistance range between $71.8 to $73,000. So let's talk about this most recent move, right? And the potential for a break above 73K here, a potential for a rejection and what that rejection might look like. And let's move on to the macro charts and talk about the upcoming parabolic altcoin season. Before we get into any more analysis, guys, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, Bitunix. Bitunix is an emerging cryptocurrency exchange committed to providing you with a secure, convenient, and highly functional trading and investment platform. Available across all countries as a non-KYC exchange, get global access to over 150 trading pairs with minimal fees on both spot and futures contracts. Join today to get $5,500 in sign-up rewards and get 15% off all of your trading fees by signing up using the link in my bio or by using the code 1GG3 when you create your account. So before we jump into the very short time frame charts, the 1 hour chart or 4 hour chart, I really quickly just want to stay on the 12-hour chart and pull up the RSI, because the context for this particular approach of $73,000 this time round is actually completely different from our prior approaches of $73,000. So yes, it is still a very strong level of resistance. Of course, it is the all-time high for Bitcoin. There's going to be a lot of selling pressure at this level, and there's going to be a lot of resistance to push past that level and continue on upwards in our price discovery. But if we take a look at the RSI and we take a look at the prior times that we have tested this resistance range, right? So over here, that very first time over here, and this test over here in the middle of April, we can see that every single time that we've had that test of $73,000, we have been doing it from a position of decreasing strength and decreasing momentum. And I talk about momentum a lot on this channel because it is a very, very good indicator for the breakout or the absorption of particular levels of resistance and support. So when we know that we have a key level of support here at $73,000, we know that when we're approaching it, we need to be approaching it from a position of lots of buying pressure, right? We need to be seeing the market positively react to this level of resistance, buying pressure to be increasing as we approach that level of resistance, and selling pressure to be decreasing, right? Because when we see that, that tells us that, okay, this level isn't going to react as a strong level of resistance this time, and there's a high likelihood for a breakout. So when we take a look at historically when we have tested $73,000, we can see already over here at the very start when we broke above $60,000, the moment we did that, we were losing bullish momentum, right? The buying pressure we saw here was decreasing. These peaks over here in the RSI were decreasing. Same thing as we had touched $73,000, we had a massive shift in buying pressure, went right below that 70 that 70-point RSI level, and we crashed down below, right? So we had that shift in momentum that told us already that we were going to reject from this level, and 73 was where we were going to exhaust and establish that all-time high. Now, every single time since then, we have been still doing it from a position of weakness, right? This downtrend in the RSI has remained this entire time until very, very recently. It was only until we re-established 60K as a base of support after the deviation below 57 that we finally had this RSI momentum flip, and we finally had a macro change in the narrative of what's happening on the charts and what the buyers and the sellers are doing. So finally, for this time at $73,000, yes, it is still a key level of resistance, but we are approaching it for the first time from a position of growing buying pressure, of increasing strength and increasing momentum in the market. So these are all good signs. So on the macro charts, it does look like we do have a good, strong chance of actually breaking above 73,000 this time soon. But before we get all excited, let's dive into the short time frame and actually talk about what's happening there and how we can kind of time this breakout. So when we're diving into the short time frame charts, the 4-hour chart here with the macro context in mind, what we're really looking for is what's going to tell us that that bullish case scenario, so that break of $73,000 is still intact. So there are 3 main things to be looking out for, or 3 indications of that bullish case scenario. And so let's go over those. The very first thing obviously that we look for is always horizontal levels. So $69,000 is our key level of support right now, right? If we go onto the weekly chart just for a quick second, we know that this macro range of resistance starts at $65,000, right? That weekly candle close for the all-time high in 2021 and ends at the candlestick at 69K, that prior all-time high for Bitcoin. So obviously we know that if we have established 69K as a base of support, the next moves that we should go on to make should be to that all-time high, right? And so while we hold 69K as that base of support and we continue to build strength against that level of resistance, there is a very high likelihood that we will end up breaking above that 73K resistance and moving on into, price discovery and above. The next key thing that we're looking out for is our short time frame uptrend, right? So the short time frame uptrend tells us that the current trajectory that we're going in, the price actions going in, is continuing. So if we continue above the uptrend, naturally we should be going up. And if we fall below the uptrend, that's when we start to think, okay, well, the short time frame trajectory has been lost. Potentially we are seeing a reversal and we should be looking for a correction to lower levels of support. And then finally, what's going to preempt that and preempt the break of this short time frame uptrend is first of all the RSI uptrend. When momentum shifts, first we see a momentum shift and then we see the price action shift. So if we take a look at the RSI uptrend, we can see that this massive uptrend has been intact all the way since our recent bottom of $57,000. So while this uptrend remains intact, we are seeing continual increases in buying pressure, right? We can see that these highs are getting higher and we're seeing the selling pressure, or these dips, they're also getting higher. So we're seeing decreasing selling pressure and increased buying volume and increased buying momentum. So while we continue to see that and fulfill this RSI uptrend, we should continue to have enough strength to, stay above the uptrend and break above $73,000. So those are the 3 main things to be looking out for there on the short time frame. That's going to validate our high time frame bullish case scenario. So moving on to the bearish case scenario, naturally it's the opposite of these 3 things. So we know that if we lose this RSI uptrend over here, it is very likely that we end up losing our uptrend and losing our key horizontal support. So in that circumstance, when we lose 69K support, what that essentially means is that we are falling back within this macro range of resistance between 65.5 and 69K. So that tells us in the worst case scenario of losing 69, we should be seeing a move to 65. Keep in mind though, on the short time frame, we do have this massive level of support as well at 67. Our most recent support resistance flip that took us all the way up to $71,000. That is now going to act as a key level of support, right? So what we might see if we lose 69K is instead of consolidating between the lower half of the consolidation range or this trading channel, we are going to consolidate in the upper ranges instead. So using 60K as that key level of support. What we might see is continued consolidation within these upper ranges before we gather enough reversal momentum to push the price back upwards and get that retest of 73K once again. It is only really falling below 65.5, this key support over here, the bottom of this range, that things start to look a little more bearish again, right? Like macro bearish, because that would mean that despite this massive engulfing candle we've had here, a close above 65.5 on the weekly chart, full on macro reversal, despite all of that, we have rejected from this macro resistance and are going back down to test the support all the way down here at $60,000, right? So that would mean a complete failed breakout over here, and then this entire move was nothing but deviation, right? You can imagine how bearish that would be. So naturally, that's pretty unlikely so far. We aren't really seeing any signs of that, and that's only a potential if we lose 65.5. As of right now, though, that bullish case scenario is still very much intact. And now that we are once again retesting this upper range of resistance, that all-time high at 73,000 or 71.8 to 73, I think it is relevant that we circle back and talk about the upcoming parabolic altcoin season. Now, I've spoken about it in a previous video, I think more than a month ago. So now that it's relevant again, it's a good time that we bring it up. So in every single bull run cycle for Bitcoin, we have three main phases or trigger points within that bull run. Obviously, the very first one is the halving event. That generally happens before anything else sort of happens, and it is after the halving event that we break above this key level of resistance known as the dead cat bounce resistance, right? We can see that it happens every single bull run cycle, and every single prior year we've had that same exact level of resistance, and upon breaking that level of resistance and fully establishing it as a base of support, we generally start the Bitcoin parabolic phase, right? That phase in the price action where we see a massive amount of growth and we test our all-time high. That's the next phase, and we go on to create the end of the bull run cycle and the top, right? That new all-time high. So this cycle, we are currently at that phase once again of testing our prior all-time high, right? We established a break above our dead cat bounce level at $48,000 all the way back in February, and we have been going in a massively upward trajectory ever since. Like if we take a look at the price action that happened once we broke above that level, it has been exceptionally bullish despite the last couple of months of consolidation. So now that we are once again at that level, it's important to take a look at Bitcoin dominance and its relationship to altcoins and what altcoins do in this specific phase of this cycle. So let's take a look at last cycle, for example. So we had the start of our Bitcoin parabolic phase when we broke above that dead cat bounce level of resistance, and then Bitcoin dominance generally tends to be in a general uptrend. It does kind of increase from the start of that parabolic phase until it reaches the all-time high, until Bitcoin reaches its all-time high. When that happens and Bitcoin breaks above the all-time high, that is when Bitcoin dominance peaks, right? We can see, obviously after it tests the all-time high and goes above, Bitcoin absolutely flies upwards, right? We have a massive amount of growth in the price of Bitcoin, but comparatively, altcoins tend to absolutely fly, right? Bitcoin doesn't really do 100x or anything like that. It's too big of a coin, but altcoins in particular, the growth that they have during this next phase is unparalleled, right? And that is what we call the altcoin season, and that generally happens after Bitcoin tests its all-time high and breaks above. So if we take a look at our current cycle and where we are right now, we are right before that altcoin season, right? When Bitcoin breaks above, or if Bitcoin breaks above $73,000 here, it is very likely that after that rally, we see a huge amount of price action from altcoins. We can also see that this massive uptrend that we've been in since December 2022 of growing Bitcoin dominance and decreasing strength from altcoins, right? We've been seeing this trend line tested many times ever since the start of that parabolic phase. And most recently, we're seeing Bitcoin dominance really, really drop, right? So we're having a massive test of this trend line. And if we drop below that trend line, that is a very good signal that the start of the altcoin season is potentially beginning, right? Particularly if Bitcoin does break above $73,000. We can take a look as well as how this translates to the total market cap of altcoins. The same thing that we can see over on Bitcoin dominance and BLX, we can see the same pattern happening over here. So taking a look at total market cap of altcoins, again, so we have the halving event, right? We have the parabolic phase of Bitcoin, and generally when that happens, when that starts, altcoins aren't really doing all that much, right? We're going up a little bit, but it tends to retrace a little bit. Altcoins tend to retrace a little bit as Bitcoin approaches that key level of resistance. Then we have the reaction of altcoins when Bitcoin tests the all-time high. So again, generally that isn't all that bullish, right? It's pretty sideways during this entire period until Bitcoin can gather enough strength to break above that all-time high. Then it is after that altcoins have this parabolic phase where the growth of altcoins far exceeds, the growth of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if we take a look at what the price action is doing right now, we can see we have a key trigger point, right? That's $608 billion trigger point for the market cap of altcoins. So we're above that key trigger point despite all the recent price action. We've maintained this as a base of support. We've moved through the parabolic phase. We've moved through the testing of the all-time high, and we are currently bouncing on that 6.8 billion. So we're already getting a signal over here on the total cryptocurrency market cap or total altcoin market cap chart that we should be in an upward trajectory, right? And we should be entering this next phase of the cycle. Alrighty guys, that is it for the analysis for today. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel down below. And if you want even more content, be sure to check out the free Telegram channel for daily Bitcoin updates as well as crypto and economic news. If you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trades with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. If you are a trader, sign up down below to Bitunix for 15% off all of your trading fees as well as up to $5,500 in sign up rewards. Hope you guys have a really great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.